Hi, it's Ramsey Dewey with the JX Fight Club in Shanghai, China. You ever heard of the hard problem of consciousness? The hard problem of consciousness. Look that up, Google it. It is the idea that we are conscious beings, that you can think, that you experience emotions, that you have memories, that you're real, that what you are experiencing is authentic, that you are a free agent who is acting rather than simply being acted upon by outside forces. It's a hard problem because it's something that empirical science has yet to prove. Nobody's proven the hard problem of consciousness, hence the hard problem rather than the hard theory. Do you ever feel self-conscious? You ever feel embarrassed? I certainly have. I used to be absolutely terrified to talk in front of people. I thought I sounded weird. I thought I looked weird. I probably do. Especially after, getting my nose and my face rearranged with fighting, man. Looks like I got a little mark there from rolling today. But if you feel self-conscious, then good. Good. You should. I'll tell you why, because that means you're real. That means that while you may not have empirically proven to the scientific world that you are an actual conscious being that matters, you've gained personal knowledge for yourself. Personal knowledge for yourself. That what you do matters. So many people are terrified to go out there and make a mistake, or be embarrassed, or goof up, or talk in front of a crowd. The whole reason I started YouTube videos back in the day was because I was afraid of talking in front of people. And so I used this platform 10 years ago to talk in front of people. No, your screen didn't just freeze. I got a comment the other day on one of my videos that said, man, this video could have been half as long if you didn't take all those pauses. And that's fine if you think that. YouTube is filled with these videos and video blogs with all these jump cuts and fast-talking individuals who convey a whole lot of words and very little information. I, however, think it is very important to think before you speak. It's important to take time to breathe, guys. How you move, how you eat, how you sleep, how you think, and how you breathe determines so much about who and what we are and who and what we can become. So take time to think and take time to breathe. But if you feel self-conscious, then good. You should. It's so much better to put yourself out there and take a risk than it is to hide your head in the sand. There is a story in the Bible that I think about a lot. The parable of the talents. You might have read it, you might have heard of it, and if not, it goes something like this. There was an extremely wealthy man who had 3 servants, and he gave them talents of gold. Now, in olden times, a talent was a great deal of gold. In today's money, it would be worth a fortune. And to the first servant, he gave 5 talents. To the second servant, he gave 2. And to the third, he gave only 1. And he went out on a journey. And when he came back, he checked up on his servants and asked them what they had done with the talents. And the first 2, what did they do? Well, they took a risk. They invested that money, and they doubled it. The first one said, here's your 5 talents, and here's 5 more beside it. Well done, good and faithful servant, said the master. You've been faithful over a few things. Now I will make you ruler over many things. And so he did. The second servant, here are your 2 talents and 2 more beside them, because I worked very hard. I invested. I took a risk, and I got the reward. Well done, good and faithful servant, he said again. But the last guy, if you know the story, he buried his talent. He said, I was afraid that I might lose it, so I didn't want to take the risk. Here's the one you gave me, with nothing beside it to show for it. And the master was not happy. The third servant was cast out. So there's a lot you can learn from that. There's a lot I have learned from that story. I mean, in Sunday school lessons, people talk about that all the time, about how we should multiply our talents, our, actual abilities and whatnot. And, that's a good lesson and all. But what I'm thinking about right now is the risk factor. Those first 2 servants, they took a risk. And the third one did not. Tried to play it safe, go under the radar, not get noticed. And I can't help but think that if the third servant took a risk and failed, the master would have been much more pleased. I know I am. As a coach, I see, when I teach a new technique, a lot of students are very eager to try that new stuff out. They're like, sweet, a new move, I'm going to try this out. But not everybody. Some people are scared to try something new. It's uncomfortable. They're self-conscious. They're like, what if I don't do it right? And the guy passes my guard or punches me in the face or whatever it is. And that's a very real possibility. When you try something out for the first time, you won't be any good at it. It's a risk. So if you're trying out a new submission from the guard, your training partner's probably going to pass your guard the first few times, maybe the first 100 times, maybe the first 1,000 times. But if you never open up and try it, you'll never pull off the move. You got to take that risk. So when I see my students refuse to try that new thing, refuse to take that risk because they're self-conscious. What if I make a mistake? What if I fail? I'm not happy about that. I mean, I don't cast them out, but I'm not happy about it. But when I see them try and fail, that's the first step to greatness. That's the first step to getting it right. Fall down 7 times, stand up 8. Heard that before? The old axiom of judo, fall down 7 times, stand up 8. You must fall before you can succeed. So feel self-conscious. It means you're alive. It means you're real. It means you're an authentic being. It means you matter. And it means what you do matter. It means what you do matters. There's some better grammar for you. See, when you live in a foreign country for a decade, sometimes it affects your linguistic ability. Yes, this video could be shorter if I made little jump cuts. But you know what? I want you to stop and think once in a while about what I'm saying. And if you're in a hurry, if you got stuff to do, that's fine. Come back later. Or don't watch it, that's fine. But if you think there's something to be learned here, stop. Think. There was an audio cassette series by Tony Robbins I listened to once on a car trip with a friend of mine. We went hiking out in the wilderness in southern Utah. A lot of great places to hike and camp and things like that down there. And on the way home, it was a long drive, he had Tony Robbins' Personal Power series. And I kind of laughed like, personal power? Come on. I don't need to listen to a motivational speaker. That's cheesy. But, we gave it a listen. I was like, wow, this guy is intense. If you haven't listened to Tony Robbins, he's great. Makes you feel like you can go out there and take on the world. But as we're listening, he gives us this great information, really great information, about improving your life, making important changes. And he says, stop the tape right now. And don't listen to anything else until you take out a piece of paper and write down this stuff, make some goals. And don't listen to anything else on this tape until you've done that. I thought, man, we got 6 more hours to drive. I don't have a piece of paper. Let's just listen to it. And I kept listening. We kept listening to the tape, and it was good. It was great stuff. Makes you feel all pumped up and ready to take on the world. But, afterward, I stopped and thought about it. I thought, you know what? He's got a point. You got to stop, and you got to think. You got to write stuff down. Why? Because that forces you to be involved. Often I'll have students who say, oh, I saw this really great technique on YouTube the other day. Oh, yeah? Let me see. They'll be like, oh, well, I don't really remember how it goes, but it's kind of like, and then they flounder around a little bit and they're not able to demonstrate it or pull it off. And yeah, because it's not ingrained in the muscle memory. It's not enough just to watch something, obviously. It's not enough just to listen to something. You have to be involved. There was this great seminar we had at the gym a number of years ago. Franco de Leonardis, he was the former Shidokan champion back in the day. Shidokan, man, that was a cool tournament. 1 round karate, 1 round Muay Thai, 1 round MMA. Cool stuff. And he gave this great seminar here, where afterward he said, keep a notebook with you at all times. A number of people had their cameras out to record the techniques from the seminar, and that's great because you can go back and see it. But he said, more importantly, is keep a notebook and write down your impressions, write down what you feel about it. And go back and read that from time to time. Because when you become actively involved, physically involved in the process of recording that information, rather than letting a machine do it for you, or in addition to letting that machine do it for you, it becomes more deeply ingrained in you. And that's exactly what I did with that seminar. Afterward, I wrote down all my impressions about it. And I've been to a bunch of seminars, with some really, really great athletes and jiu-jitsu players and MMA fighters and things like that. But, this one with Franco de Leonardis, I remember every detail, every technique from that seminar, and I still use them and teach them to this day. I went to the seminar years ago with Rafa Mendes, and he was teaching some really great guard passes. And I remember 2 things from that seminar that I still use to this day. And, it's great stuff. It's valuable. It was worth my money. But he taught a whole lot more than just 2 things. And I wish I could have, internalized all those other principles. That would have been really valuable. Should have taken notes. It forces you to stop and think and internalize and be self-conscious. So, my friends, wear your heart on your sleeve. Put yourself out there. Take a risk. Dig up that talent buried in the dirt. Put it to use. See if you can double it, triple it even. That's a risk. Thanks for watching. Get out there and train. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments down below.